What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Phaithful Phanatics show. We are not going live here on Twitter. It looks like, Scotty, what's happening here? Not letting us go live on Twitter today for some reason. We'll try to get this sorted out, but we are live here on Dsm Media's Philadelphia YouTube channel. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a quick favor. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's the best spot to get your thoughts and comments pulled up here on the screen with your host. I'm one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my left, my faithful co-host, Scotty. The Phillies head into the All-Star break 62-34, still holding the number one spot in the National League and the NL East. We're going to talk about that, the trade deadline, and much, much more. Kyle Lowry resigns with the 76ers on a one-year deal, and Gary Trent Jr. possibly joining him in that backcourt. We're going to talk about those rumors. And Jalen Hurts disrespect, the Eagles' disrespect continues. Is he not a top 10 quarterback just a year removed from a hell of a Super Bowl performance, man? We're going to talk about that, Nick Sirianni, and more. But happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend, and let's dive into it.
Yes, sir. Happy Monday, man. X really killing the vibe here right now. I guess we're gonna have to subscribe to the premium membership just to stream on there.
It never ceases to amaze me, man. Like, it's always something new. We were going live on X on Twitter for the last month or 3 weeks, and all of a sudden I come home, we go live, and we need a premium account to stream on the platform.
Which it's like fine, it doesn't cost that much. It's just like random as hell when you have things like this planned for them to do that. But
right,
I'm not gonna complain too much. I'm not gonna be a Karen, but that's really annoying to not have our Twitter watchers able to view here. So I'm gonna get the link shared out here on Twitter just so people know we are live on there.
There we go. Not bad, man.
But, yeah, we got a lot to get into, man. Obviously, Phillies big weekend. Obviously dropped the series to the A's, the worst team in baseball. But shit happens. Probably the best time right now for them to have a little bit of a break, especially that pitching staff to get themselves back on their feet. But a lot of stuff coming out with the NFL. We're getting closer to the season. A lot of rankings, different companies like ESPN, CBS. Putting out their rankings for head coaches, QBs, so on and so forth. So we'll be able to get into all of that. I'm excited, man. And obviously the Sixers just keep it moving, man. Doing exactly what we expect and want of them.
Yeah, well, let's start with the Phillies at the break, man, because we got a little bit of an off time here in the sports world. There is literally nothing outside of a home run derby and an all-star game the next 2 nights to really look at here. Al Bohm is representing the Phillies in the home run derby tonight, so we could touch on that. I think he has the lowest odds. I think he's like plus 1,300 to win the whole thing. I think it's the lowest of the 8 contestants. So we'll see if Bomer can shock anybody and shock us even. But baseball's such a weird sport. Like we know this. We talk about it every year. Just get to the dance, right? And if you're the third wild card, if you're the first wild card, if you run away with the division, if you're as hot as the Phillies are right now, it's such a momentum sport. And injuries matter and timing matters. And getting up for teams. And it's not always right. It shouldn't really matter. But it's just they sweep the Dodgers. It's playoff atmosphere, all 3 games. It's a hell of a series. You got 1 series to go before you reach the All-Star break and get a little healthier and get some guys some rest. And then you lose 2 out of 3 at home to the Oakland Athletics. First and foremost, it's fine. Relax. It's how things go. Yes, I know Garrett Stubbs had to pitch the 9th inning. Yes, I know he gave up a grand slam before even recording it out in the 9th inning. They gave up 18 runs. For some reason, the worst team in baseball in the Oakland Athletics tend to do this. They had a game earlier in the year where they scored 16 or 17 against the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
They tend to do these things against the best teams in baseball. It's a very strange sport.
I've heard that they've like scored over 18 runs at least like 3 times this season.
And nobody else has.
Very random from the worst team in baseball, right? But I'm with you. I don't think it's any time to panic right now, guys. Like, it is what it is, man. They were probably looking forward to the break. Let's be honest. They've been playing their asses off this first half of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if they were looking forward to the break, getting healthy. All of that.
Right. And it's a little different in baseball when you have a series, right? So you're seeing a team 3 or 4 times in a row in a 3-day span or so. Whereas what do we always talk about with basketball or football? A trap game, right? Like college, NFL, whatever. Like if the Eagles, have the Bears, like the last year's Bears, then the Cowboys, then a bye week. The Bears game might be a trap game at that point, right? If they,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? If they had
You
the
can call this
Raiders,
like a
then
trap
the
series.
Chiefs, then a bye week, that's a
Yeah.
trap game. It seems different in baseball because it's like, okay, game one of the series might be a trap game, but then they should kind of turn things around. They did that on Saturday. They beat the A's 11-5. Unfortunately, things did not go well yesterday afternoon, and that brings me to my first point here when it gets to the Phillies heading into the break. Michael Mercado, it was nice to know you, brother. We appreciate you. We're happy for you that you got this opportunity. You got to win in Chicago. Go meet Lehigh Valley again, okay? No disrespect, just you're going to be heading back down to Lehigh Valley regardless of injuries or not, because there's no way this dude can see a mound every 5 days. The game he won in Chicago, if we're being honest, he got rocked. Like, he only gave up 2 runs, I believe, but there were like 3 balls hit to the warning track. There were multiple balls hit on ropes that were just great defensive plays by the Phillies that night. I believe he pitched against the Braves. Batting practice, he pitched against the A's. Batting practice, couldn't make it through 4 innings in either start. Michael Mercado is not going to continue to give the Phillies his services. So, yeah, they need to get healthy, man. You look at what Ranger Suarez has done in his last 3 or 4 starts. At the end of the day, it's the most he's thrown. It's the most innings he's thrown. It's the most pitches he's thrown in the first half of the season. It's new to him. You got to remember, man, 2 years ago, Ranger Suarez was coming out of the bullpen, closing game 4 or game 5 of the NLCS, to take this team to the World Series. He was pitching 1 inning back then. Last year, started in the playoffs, Topper was pulling him 1 time through the lineup. This is new to him. Yes, it hurts. It's a blow that he was off to this Cy Young-esque start. We are comparing him, who's better, Wheeler or Suarez. He's hit a little bit of a wall. He desperately needs this all-star break, and they all need this all-star break, man. But the good news is they're still first in the NL East. They're first in the National League. They're first overall, and they have 62 wins in the first half of the season.
Yeah, and now you get to have some fun at the All-Star weekend. You got the most All-Stars like in the MLB, like showing up from Philadelphia. So that's going to be a fun part. You mentioned Bowman, the home run derby. So there's fun to be had. Make us forget about this little series that happened over the weekend. It's not going to be that big a deal in the grand scheme of things, my man. But I do agree. It's time for, maybe guys are coming back down to earth. Maybe they're getting tired, whatever it may be. The refresh, I'm hoping will help them get back on track. It's not like that though, right? Like it's not like
they're not off the rails. They're not all yeah.
It almost sounds bad, but I think it's just because of the way they've been playing all season, right? And we've had nothing but positivity and sunshine and rainbows about the Philadelphia Phillies all year. So when they drop a few games, there is going to be a little bit of a reaction, a little bit of a pause there. But this is still the best team in baseball, man. They just
remember when people earlier on in the year were talking about strength of schedule and how the Phillies aren't beating anybody over 500. Did you know the Phillies kind of have the best record against teams 500 or better right now, Scotty?
They show up when it matters,
right? So so you would think people would start talking about that, but they won't because they're quiet right now. So, the pitching needs the rest. They need to get healthy, man. There's nothing really more I could say about that. Very cool moment when the kid got to start for his hometown team on Saturday, Tyler Phillips. That's who Tyler Phillips is throwing for me over Michael Mercado. Let's just get that straight. Unfortunately,
he actually had a pretty decent outing, Oh, this man. Oh, he's cooking now. I'm going to have to get my hair braided here soon, man, because I can't be getting called Taiwan Walker out here. I even got the fresh cut. I got the fade.
That's all right, bro. So you make millions of dollars playing in the MLB? Take the compliment. Run with it.
Fair enough. I'll take that. If I get called that out in public, I'll roll with it. Maybe take some pictures, sign some autographs. But that's hilarious, nonetheless. What I wanted to ask you, though, man, what is the timeline on JT? When is he supposed to return? How far after the All-Star break?
I'm pretty sure it's fairly shortly. Like, when did he go? I'm trying to go back and remember when JT went down. They said it was around the same timeline as Trey. It was going to be around that 6 week mark.
Okay.
So I'm just real quick. I just want to go back and kind of try to find where he may have went down. He went down in June at some point, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a little over or a little under a month ago.
That's not what I meant to click. Just trying to see if it was in the beginning of June. Regardless, JT Realmuto should be rejoining the Phillies
Pretty
kind
soon.
of any day after the All-Star break, which is huge when you talk about the depth of this lineup, man. Like, that's the other thing. We asked this
Yeah.
team to stay afloat, Scotty, when Bryce and Schwarber went down and JT was already down. And we weren't really sure if they could. Well, the strength of schedule was starting to pick up in the month of July, like you had mentioned before.
Yeah.
But dude, you look at the back end of this lineup, and even yesterday to an extent, like when you have a 5 through 9, and I'm excluding Marsh and Castellanos are part of like the top 5. I'm not like,
Yeah.
and they're not the most consistent guys in this lineup either. I'm talking like the bottom half is Stubbs, Rojas, Sosa, Pache on it. Like, that's not a lineup that you look at that's going to inspire a lot of confidence in you. And they did exactly what we asked. They stayed afloat. They treaded water. They actually got a game and a half up on Atlanta at one point. And now you head into the All-Star break. We know Bryce and Schwarber are back. JT's coming back, and it just exemplifies the depth of this lineup when he gets back in there, man. Now everybody just drops another slot.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, okay, Marsh is hitting 8th and Rojas is hitting 9th. Like, that's what we're worried about. Then you look at the deadline, who they're targeting, who's going to be the odd man out. Well, okay, well, now Marsh is hitting 9th, probably, possibly. And, Luis Robert or somebody else has slid into the 5 or 6 hole. Like, that's just the depth of this lineup, and it's only going to continue to improve, man. But do you want to know why it's so deep right now? And they've battled injuries all year long. I think we forget about this. If Trey mother effing Turner does not get hurt, he is the runaway MVP of the first half of the season. This dude's not human right now.
Yeah.
Man. And I think
crazy.
From the first half of last year, the struggles, pre-standing ovation, it got lost upon us how goddamn talented this dude is. And when he's going, he's probably the best shortstop in baseball. Probably he's a top 2 shortstop in baseball, right? And what he's doing right now, it's unbelievable, dude. What's he got? 8 home runs in his last 11 or 12 games. He's hitting like 438 over the last month or so since returning. Even yesterday, like, he sets the tempo in the first inning with a home run. And, you're kind of hoping things, stay on the straight and narrow until Michael Mercado gets the ball. But anyway, he sets the tempo yet again. That was his second or third first inning home run of the last 3 games. Like, we always talk about Schwarbombs, right? Schwarber leading off a game, first pitch home run. Well, the second batter of the game doing the same thing sets almost the same kind of tone for a ball game and gets the crowd into it. That's what he's doing right now, dude. He's arguably the best hitter in baseball right now. And when you take that in between a guy that's going to hit 40 plus home runs and another MVP candidate in Bryce and whoever you trade for at the deadline and Alec Boehm, the RBI and double, you just pile it all together and the depth of this lineup just continues to get even better.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And that's the big thing with obviously, like you said, getting JT back as well in that lineup. You see what Trey was able to come back and do, right? He comes back hot. Maybe JT can give us the spark like that when he gets back as well, comes back refreshed. So, Trey Turner, man. I was at the game on Saturday for our boy Parcero, El Parcero's bachelor day, I guess you could call it. And I did lay a Trey homer going out there just because he has been on fire, man. It was nice to see him crank one. Bryce cranked one on Saturday. Saturday was great. That was fun. But Friday and Sunday, not so much. But it is good to see Trey.
Well, you got to the right game at least.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if I'm the good luck charm or if that was, I'm not sure what happened this weekend, but no, I'm happy to see Trey firing like this because, like you said, man, when he's rolling, this team really, really goes because you know what you're going to get from Bryce and company, and the rest of these guys. So yeah, I'm excited, but I did want to touch on Marshawn Lynch's comment here. Do the errors? Do they not scare us? I'm curious your
From
thoughts.
Trey? Nah, man, I think that's always just going to be a part of his game. He did it last year. He did it last year in critical moments. But I feel we look so much at the bad plays, at the negatives, right? There's also incredible plays Trey Turner makes at shortstop. If you go back to the NLDS last year, we were in Atlanta. It was game one. Bryce homered earlier. I think we were up 2-0 or something at that point. They had runners on with one out, and he makes a diving stab in the hole, gets up, flips it to Stott, double play, inning over, and broadcast goes crazy. So for every negative, for every bad play, for every error Trey has, hits off the heel of his glove. He misreads a ball. He throws one in the dirt at Bryce. For every bad play, for every error, there's going to be an extraordinary play in a big moment. And not to mention, I'll take an error every once in a while when it means having the best bat in baseball. So no, doesn't scare me. It's annoying. Don't get me wrong. It's very, very annoying if there's 2 outs and a runner on second and he dirts a throw over to first base and the inning continues and they get a run or 2 out of it. Yeah, that's a killer, especially in a big moment, especially against better competition. But no, that doesn't worry me.
Just can't have it kill you in those big moments. Obviously, you want to eliminate that as much as you can, but like you said, it's
especially
kind of
because to
Martian's
point, don't Trey's errors always feel like so like juvenile, like so rookie, like it's nothing difficult. It's not a diving stab. He came up but lost the grip on the ball. It's like he's coming up, body kind of out of position, which they teach you not to do, and it takes a bounce and hits like off the heel of his glove and skips away. Or like they're always so like.
Was he always like that, or is this just like since he got to Philly?
I think he's always kind of been a little.
Is it one of those things where he just trusts his talent a little too much? Like he
his
thinks
athleticism,
he can,
his
make
speed,
some of these
his arm strength. He trusts all that to make up for the, I don't know, technical issues that he may have in the field, right? Like what they always tell you, man, square up the ball, come to the ball, don't wait for it to come to you, get your body in front of it, and it's just like when you run up on a ball with your body to the side of it with your glove straight down, bad things are going to happen from time to time. And that's what you see. It hits off his glove a weird way, scatters into the outfield, or whatever the case may be. So
I did want to ask you this, and it's about one of our outfielders, Johan Rojas.
Yeah.
What did you think of the comments? I believe it was after the Dodgers series, after that wrapped up. I believe it was he had his translator there, and he guaranteed the Phillies are going to win the World Series. How did you feel? Because I saw like mixed reactions to the player. Like obviously he's not the biggest name in the starting lineup. Maybe won't even be in the starting lineup once a big trade is made. But how did you feel about that? Would it be different if those words were coming from a Bryce Harper or a Trey Turner or Kyle Schwarber rather than Rojas?
It doesn't bother me. Like I think it's just him. Well, A, he's super young. B, probably being a little goofy, even though you don't guarantee something like that in July being goofy, but being a little goofy. I don't know, probably just not messing around. Obviously, they think it, they believe it. But I don't think it was like a tone setting message to the rest of the league. Like we're here for this. It wasn't anything
kind of
like
giggling
that
during it too.
Yeah, so it wasn't anything too serious for me. Normally, I do get a little more fired up. Like you know, we've talked about like with the Eagles in the past or Sixers in the past. Like if you're not that guy, know your role and shut your mouth. Shout out to The Rock.
It could be one of those things too where he's hearing this from his clubmates, right? His teammates in the clubhouse, and he just lets it out of the clubhouse
as a group,
right? Because they're operating.
I really have no issue with it. Twitter's really killing my vibe this morning, man. Really, we got to get more of you guys in here right now. Martian, spread the word, send the message, man. Put the bat signal out. We need more of you guys in the chat right now.
Seriously,
really things up.
I just hate how random it was that they decide, you need a verified or a subscribed account,
premium account,
live stream. Like, just let us know that ahead of time. Send an email or something,
right?
So we don't
difficult.
killer
Especially
stream
when
here,
we
but
did this, 5 days ago and had no issues. But
yeah,
anywho, that's the Phillies at the break,
like
man.
Aaron.
See what Alec Boehm can do tonight, if he can perform at all. Bobby Abreu-esque maybe in the home run derby. Plus 1,300. Is it worth a sprinkle? I'll tell you, no, it's not. But maybe we'll have some fun with it anyway. And obviously, man, tomorrow night we have 3 all-star starters in Bryce, Bomer, and Trey, all in the infield. Wheeler and Ranger, as we know, are part of the all-star team as well. Matt Strahm, Jeff Hoffman there. Christopher Sanchez now also being a replacement. So the Phillies have 8 all-stars representing the National League, and we'll see what they do tomorrow night. It's kind of a nice time, man. Like we've been so filled with something going on every day and every night, and just relax a little bit and not have to take things so seriously for
even
another
soccer.
2.
Soccer's done now too. Well,
Yeah.
international, right? Like the big cups. But
By the way, let's get into an off-topic discussion here, man. What happened last night? And I know it's kind of funny to me, and people seeing it, you're making humor, make humor out of it, but that's awful. That is literally an awful situation what happened last night in Miami.
Yeah. There's okay. Yeah, I know where you're going now. I thought you were talking about the actual game for a second.
No. That
was kind of blowing me too, considering
right.
I believe we both laid both teams to score last night, but obviously that didn't happen. But yeah, the pregame antics of
it got delayed by an hour and a half, basically.
Yeah, and I saw fans crawling through the ventilating system to get in. Yeah. Mind you, the tickets were running around $1,800, $2,000 for the lowest price seat. But once again, how don't you have more security? I don't know.
Right.
People were trying to blame it on America. That's not America. Dude. We have events there all the time.
Yeah, dude. I saw videos and screenshots of when they were rushing the gates, little girls running away, crying, had a bruise on her face. People were getting to their seats, but people that snuck in were already at their seats, and there were so many of them and so little security. Security told them they can't do anything about it. Now imagine that. Imagine being the motherfucker that spent the G or the 1,500 for 2 or 3 seats, and you go to your seats pregame, and security tells you, can't really help you out here. That's nice. And then I saw the aftermath of I forget what club level it was, but it was the escalators to the club level completely demolished. They're broken, the rails are broken on the side. There's trash everywhere. I've never seen anything like that when it comes to, dude. We host Super Bowls. How are we supposed to host the Olympics in a couple years?
Right.
There's no fucking shot.
Yeah, I don't understand it because like I said, there's a lot of people. I follow a lot of people because I watch a lot of soccer overseas. So there's a lot of people talking about the U.S. could never host the World Cup in 2026, host the Olympics down the line. They're saying how the U.S. just has no control of anything. And like you said, we host Super Bowls, we host concerts, festivals. There's all types of stuff that goes on here in America that does not have that type of crowd or antics, actions, whatever you want to call it. And the funniest thing is, man, a couple years ago during the Euro Cup, the same exact thing happened in England when England was playing, I believe, Italy in the Cup final. They bombarded the Wembley Stadium, ripping stuff down. People don't get their seats. There's people in your seats when you get to them. And like you said last night, man, I saw a guy, I think he was a Colombian fan, and he was outside after the game. And he said he flew all the way in from, I believe, Texas, bought his ticket, all of that, couldn't get in the game. Like you said, goes up to security, and there's nothing. They say there's nothing they can do, man. It just blows my mind, honestly.
I'm being serious. Before, in all seriousness, and I know other things happened over the weekend that we're not going to discuss because I'm not getting into any of that. But I was just going to bring up violence, and I am shocked that I haven't seen anything crazy come out this morning. In regards to fights or brawls or anything like that post game, especially, goes to extra time. Argentina wins 1-0. I'm shocked that I haven't seen any news headlines that, this person's in critical condition. These 2 people died, anything happened last night. So thank God. But security should just went home at that point. I mean, we can't do
What are you
anything. So yeah, we're outnumbered, fucking 10,000 to 2 here. So I don't know what's going to happen if I try to do anything. So that was
Yeah.
pretty wild to watch last night, man. Like, I'm waiting for the game to start. Like you said, it's a Sunday night. I got both teams to score. Waiting, and then it says 8:30, and then it says 9, then it says 9:15. I don't think they started until like 9:20ish, maybe. But
Yeah.
that was pretty wild to see.
I believe Messi he had to have broke his ankle. I mean,
Dude, that thing was this big.
Yeah,
hold on. The last thing I want to say, I wish I could pull up the screenshot. The people going through the vents, did they get in? Like, how do you know where where are you? Like, do you have the map of the building, the architecture? Like, how did you know we're gonna go through here and we're gonna make it into the stadium at some point? We're gonna get to where we need to be. That's wild.
I would love to know like the end product of that situation
of those people. Yeah,
it's like, did they actually get anywhere there? But
I'm borderline claustrophobic. I'd start freaking the fuck out. I'd be between people trying to climb over me in an air vent. No shot.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever. I don't know. Like, I've obviously wanted to go to events like Eagles playoff games. Maybe I haven't been able to go to in the past or something. Any Philly sports playoff event, but I just don't see myself like ever going to that extent to like get into a venue and like watch an event. Like, I can just watch it on TV, man. It's not that. It's not that big.
I agree. That's where I'm getting to. Maybe it's just the
getting
old of ourselves and not caring as much, or like not caring to deal with all of that as much. Not the game itself.
Exactly.
And in most cases, man, you watch the game. You view the game better at home, if we're being honest. Like, I talk about that with football all the time. Baseball's a different animal. I feel like any seat at Citizen Bank Park is a great seat. If you're sitting in the 400 level, if you're out in the outfield, if you're up behind home plate, you're not going to be able to see the strike zone like you would on your television. But everything else you can see. Playoff hockey's great. Basketball's fine for the most part. Football is the one sport where it's like, I would rather watch this at home on my couch or wherever I'm at than going. But like you said, when you get into atmosphere, Eagles, the playoff atmosphere, it's like
there's a balance, because like the downside of the atmosphere is that sometimes I don't remember the game when I get in there. You know what I mean? Like, that is the downside of the tailgate and like the partying beforehand. A lot of the times, maybe by halftime, I don't really know what I'm watching anymore. That's embarrassing. I'm kidding for the most part, but you know what I mean, man. You get pretty tore up, and you don't get the full experience of the game, especially a playoff game where I want to know every single detail. I want to see every single play that happens in that. I do feel you. But maybe that's the cue to talk some birds, man. I don't know. Do you want to talk about the Lowry signing first, or
no? We can get into Eagles first and Jalen Hurts, and then we'll wrap up with the Sixers. Like we said, Kyle Lowry re-signs with the Sixers on a 1-year deal. We'll talk about our thoughts on that. The Gary Trent Jr. rumors, the fit there. Do you guys want Gary Trent Jr.? Let us know in the comments. But let's start with what Scotty sent me bright and early this morning. And I saw a clip about it. About Jalen Hurts specifically, when it comes to not being a top 10 quarterback in the National Football League. And I said this to Scotty beforehand. Look, man, Jalen Hurts has a decent amount to prove this year, coming off of the contract and the Super Bowl performance in the MVP type year in 2022. He was injured, no doubt. The offense coordinator, the play calling, other injuries were a bloodbath for him. They no motion, no pre-snap, nothing to help him out. They were the worst team against the blitz. Defenses and teams adjusted to what they did in 2022, and the Eagles brought no answers to the test last year offensively. It's not all fair to put all of it on Jalen Hurts, but a lot of it or some of it has to go on his shoulders. He has to turn things around in 2024, okay? But with that said, these people that get paid millions of dollars to do this job, former athletes, journalists for the last 30 to 40 years, people that have just been around a lot of history in professional sports that cover these teams, cover these sports. You would think for all of their history and how they preach about players and teams and coaches that played decades on decades ago and their importance and where they rank all time, you would think how much they bring up history, they would not allow recency bias to play as much of a factor as they do while currently viewing these sports or currently talking about, being at their job covering these sports, because we are less than 365 days removed from Jalen Hurts being called a top 3 or 5 quarterback in the league, coming off a Super Bowl performance where he could have won Super Bowl MVP over Patrick Mahomes even when losing the goddamn game. That's how not long ago we are from Jalen Hurts putting out that type of performance. Yet we have guys like Jordan Love, who was a rookie last year, who stunk for the first half of the year, so he's got about 8 to 9 good games under his freaking belt. We have guys like Brock Purdy. We have got Justin Herbert, who's never won a goddamn thing. I can continue down this list. And they allow recency bias in a Jordan Love, playoff win, etc., to play a factor in their rankings. Jalen Hurts on their list is not a top 10 quarterback. Jalen Hurts is an 11. He's not 12. He's 13 on this list, guys. You know what that makes him? Just about middle of the pack. Now, if you don't believe that Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback at this moment and you need to see more, I'm probably there with you. If we get down the list, I'd probably have him around 6 or so. I'd have to really think about it. But to have this dude outside of the top 10, have him 13th. I'm sure there's a guy by the name of, I haven't even seen the list, Scotty, correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a guy by the name of Dak Prescott that wears number 4 in white and blue? Is he ahead of Jalen Hurts on this list?
I can give you the list.
Okay.
I have it right in front of me here, man. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, number 1. Burrow, 2. Allen, 3. Okay. Lamar, 4. Stafford, 5, excuse me. Justin Herbert, 6.
Okay.
CJ Stroud, 7.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers, 8.
Okay. See, now here's
Jared
where
Goff, 9.
Oh, my.
Dak Prescott, 10.
Oh, boy.
And then you get to honorable mentions in which they list Brock Purdy, Jordan Love, and then Jalen Hurts, then Tua Tagovailoa. So,
okay.
Looks like 13 to me, right? Like, it looks like 13 to me. Maybe they're not putting the honorable mentions in order there, but in my mind, it's as if they thought as they're going through this list, then they get to honorable mentions. Brock Purdy comes to mind first, right, for them. Then it's Jordan Love comes to mind, and then Jalen Hurts comes to mind.
Regardless, there's no rhyme or reason for this list. It's just you threw a bunch of shit on paper and thought this makes sense. Because if we are going to talk about recency bias, which would allow a guy like Jordan Love, which would allow Brock Purdy, which would allow, even CJ Stroud, who I think the world of CJ Stroud. I'm not saying CJ Stroud isn't a top 7 or 8 quarterback already. I'm just saying 1 year, rookie year. If we're allowing them to make this list, but Jalen Hurts gets pushed back because of a very bad year for the Eagles.
Yeah.
How in the blue hell is Aaron Rodgers a top 8 quarterback?
40 years old. Now?
I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying Aaron Rodgers doesn't have top 3 arm talent in the world still, and he can't lead the Jets to the promised land this year. I have no idea. But what I'm telling you is, if you're going to tell me that Jordan Love and a rookie like CJ Stroud and Brock Purdy are ahead of Hurts because of what happened last year, how does a dude that played 4 snaps get put up here? I'll tell you that Dak Prescott, the Eagles got sent home in the first round by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Dak Prescott was the reason his team lost a home playoff game to a rookie quarterback in Jordan Love. He's still up there.
Green Bay Packers, yeah.
What are we doing here, man? There's no rhyme or reason to this list. Patrick Mahomes is the best in the world. There's not a goddamn debate out there about it. Joe Burrow coming off an injury, I'll still give it to you. Josh Allen, my thoughts at times from a talent perspective, I'll still give it to you. After that, you get no one else from me. Maybe Matthew Stafford, But at this point of his career, I know he just took him to the playoffs, won a playoff game. At this point of his career, I don't know what Matthew Stafford's going to be. Lamar Jackson. I mean, if you want to talk similar style of player using their legs a ton, Lamar Jackson hasn't reached levels Jalen Hurts has reached. So how is he up there? We can include Josh Allen in that argument if we want. Josh Allen can't even get to the AFC Championship game.
It's funny, man. I'm sitting here looking at this, right? And it tells you like what their lowest rank is. So somebody out of the coaches, execs, right? The people that are ranking these quarterbacks, somebody did say that Patrick Mahomes is behind Josh Allen.
Okay, see, man.
Somebody said that. Like, I don't know who. We don't have names.
Whatever card you have, whatever step, it should be removed. It's revoked. You never like the people that vote for NBA, MVPs that had what was the one this year that had like it was something crazy. Like someone that wasn't on anybody's list was their number 2 or something. Like those type of people need to, bro. Okay, I'm not even going to get into it. We're talking Jalen Hurts and the Eagles specifically. I'm not going to get into the Patrick.
Aaron Rodgers, the highest ranking that somebody had Aaron Rodgers was number 3 quarterback.
That's absolutely bonkers to me, dude.
Yeah,
because what I'm saying, what you're going off of with this list by having Jalen Hurts go from like 4 to 13 in a year span, because the same company, like ESPN, was talking about Jalen Hurts being a top 3 quarterback this time last year. So the same company dropped him 10, 11 spots in a year span. So what that tells me is it's how you took last year. It's what you watched last year. So then how in turn are some of these other guys still being elevated? If you put that much weight, that much stock into what happened last year to drop him, how does Aaron Rodgers get that value? How does Dak Prescott get that value? That's where you're losing me, because now your list means nothing because there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, I agree, man. Like, where is how are we evaluating this? It doesn't make sense. As far, just to be clear, like the quarterbacks that I would not take over Jalen Hurts, right? And I don't know if that's how they're ranking this or not, or if this is just based on, it's not just based on last season, to your point.
It can't be.
Outside of Aaron Rodgers, I guess that would make sense. But even then, is Joe Burrow the number 2?
Right. Not off of last year.
Not off of last year. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm taking Joe Burrow second overall. I hold him probably over Josh Allen, right behind Patrick Mahomes from a talent standpoint. But he's got the hand injury concern or the wrist, whatever that was that he ended the season with last year. It doesn't make sense. It's not consistent. And that's my problem with it. Justin Herbert, man, like,
I didn't even talk
man. Like, I get it. He has talent, but like,
Scotty,
put it on the field already. Put the talent on the field already. Make it happen.
Jared Goff is not a top 8 quarterback in the National Football League. He was the laughing stock of the football league 2 years ago when Jalen Hurts was outperforming Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl. But now he has a good year and a great offense. Not a great year, not an MVP type year, but a very solid, a very good, productive year for Jared Goff. And now he's top 8 in the league.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
Matthew Stafford.
Here,
I mean, Matthew Stafford was good last year. I mean, number 5 though, like top 5, maybe. I don't know. Talent standpoint, maybe, right? The Dak thing, though, we come back to this all the time, man. The Dak Prescott shit. They brought it up earlier this offseason with Emmanuel Acho. Dak, like, what exactly has he done? Like, I get it. He puts up the fancy numbers through the air. What has he done to be ranked consistently as, like, this top 10 quarterback, honestly?
And I think this is what you have to do, like, to Gin's point. This is how you'd have to view it. If you had the Eagles, and again, from a talent perspective, but also like if you had this Eagles team, we're trying to win a Super Bowl, I can put X, Y, and Z quarterback in here. Who would you take? Patrick Mahomes, duh. Joe Burrow, yes. Josh Allen, I know I said he's never been in an AFC Championship game. From a talent perspective, I know Jalen like outperformed him last year, and we came back and won that game in overtime. Josh Allen, I'll still give you. Lamar's not a guy I'm doing it with. Me and Ginn have had this discussion for 3 years. I used to say Lamar's not top 10. I'm not that asshole anymore. Yeah. But I'm not taking Lamar Jackson over him.
Because Lamar, he's had the struggles in the postseason, man.
Yeah.
He froze up in that KC game. Mind you, KC has a very good defense, right? We know that. But, like, there's no reason the Ravens shouldn't have gotten to the
No.
Super Bowl last year in all
No.
reality. And I'm
And
going to
to
blame
this
Lamar.
point, here's more. Dak, Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, Jared Goff. If you do have Kirk Cousins over him for some goddamn reason, Justin Herbert, Kyler Murray, no. Matt Stafford, I mean, he's very impressive last year.
I would take him in moments, like if you just could swap them for one season, maybe. But I don't know. Maybe this is a season that Matthew Stafford goes off that cliff. I don't know. He's been injured several times over his career, so I don't know. It's an interesting thought from that standpoint. CJ Stroud is an interesting one. He's the one I really don't have like a huge issue with, aside from the sample size. Right? Like that is the main problem for me with CJ Stroud, but I do see the talent. So like I don't know, man. It's tough, right?
And this is a fair point. I'll tip my cap to Ginn on this one. But and I know Ginn agrees with me here. The only point is this is where, like, to that guy, like you said, Scotty, that had him ranked 1 and Mahomes 2, like that's where your card gets revoked, because in what world ever has Josh Allen prevailed over Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah. Never.
Right. Never.
I don't know if he's beat. I believe they beat him in the regular season a year or two ago, right? But once again, that doesn't matter. We beat him in the regular season too, so it doesn't matter. No, it's interesting, man. Baker Mayfield, I don't even think it's like close.
No, it's not even a conversation.
Not even a conversation. Kirk Cousins, not even a conversation for me. Brock Purdy, bro, not even close to a conversation for me, honestly. Tua,
I think it's.
How do you feel about Tua?
It's probably right where he probably should be. Maybe a little higher. Like, would I take Tua over Jordan Love? Maybe. Would I take Tua over Brock Purdy? You know how we feel about Brock Purdy, so probably, right? Like, if you put Tua in San Fran's offense, are they winning? You know, maybe. So things like that, but I don't think he's much higher than that. Their defense stinks too, though, for the most part.
He doesn't seem to be able to play in cold weather. Whenever the season gets long and cold at the end there, he doesn't seem to show
basically, up. Basically, what we're getting at is that Jalen Hurts is probably right around a top, what would you say, Scotty? 6 quarterback in the National Football League right now, somewhere in that ballpark. 5 to 7, I would say, is Jalen Hurts' area right now, with a ceiling of getting to top 3 for my money. Like, just maybe even high. Like, again, dude, like we watched him battle number 1 2 short year, not like a year and a half ago, and should have prevailed, right? Like almost prevailed against that guy.
Last season, he was a top 3 guy. There were points where we were talking about him versus like Josh Allen. Josh Allen being Josh Allen has a ton of arm talent. He's a big physical freak, right? They do a lot of similar things in the running game in a sense. So, I think for my money worth, he can be a top 3.
And I like this. I like this comment because it gets me to, like, you and I talked about the top 10 offense list in the NFL a couple weeks ago. We talked about some other things when it comes to, I don't want to say respect really, but kind of like a lack of respect, lack of like this positivity surrounding the Eagles heading into this year. And I think like does this translate to that, right? Like from an outside perspective, not you, not me, not people in the chat. We know how high some of us are on this roster and, our hopefulness for this upcoming year. But from an outside perspective, when you look at some of these lists and you watch Jalen Hurts basically be called middle of the pack and they have concerns about him and they have, all this, not a top 10 offense, et cetera, that plays into the lack of respect for where they have the Eagles ranked. That's why you're probably not seeing many people. But that, I just don't get that, man. Like, Scotty, like realistically, I'd have to go down the list of every offseason move. Did they not win the offseason?
Like you said,
they're very close to winning the offseason across the entire National Football League.
We'll
a year removed from a Super Bowl appearance.
I would have to take a look at the other teams because I'm going to have to start my research here soon with Turf Talk coming up. But they had to be a top 3, top 2 off season this off season, just as far as like righting your wrongs, right? Like going out,
Correct.
stabilizing your running back position, getting a top talent there. But then the biggest thing is the defensive side of the ball, adding youth and energy, top level youth and energy talent from the NFL draft. So yeah, I do agree with you there. I do agree with you about Jalen Hurts, though. It has to play into some type of factor with the win projections this season, how high the offensive ranks were. They weren't a top 10 offense. I believe it was for was it PFF that was for the top 10 offenses in
It
the
was like
NFL?
NFL Network. It was someone that worked for NFL Network.
Okay, so it was NFL Network. Nonetheless, how you look at the Eagles offense and don't think that that's a top 10 unit, I will never understand. But I guess if you're down on Jalen Hurts, that will kind of balance it out in a sense.
I guess so, bro.
The thing with Jalen Hurts that's interesting, and I'll give it a little bit of grace here, is that a lot of what he does is almost like it's like an intangible. Do you know what I mean? Like he has a lot of like just things that he does throughout a game where it's not going to be the 350-yard passing days all the time, right? He can do it. He can do it every once in a while.
What you mean is a lot of guys can't do some of the things he does throughout the course of the game.
Escaping out of situations.
He may not have the arm talent as some of these other guys, like a Herbert, like a Stafford, like an Allen, he doesn't have that arm talent. And what I mean by that, don't come for me. I'm not talking about ball placement, accuracy. I'm just talking about when you just firing a football down the field, on a dot. He's not Matthew Stafford or Justin Herbert or Patrick Mahomes, right? But he does a lot of things that a lot of other guys can't do, from just his stature, his athleticism, his mobility, his ability to create plays off script.
There's been a lot of questions about his leadership as well. I think he's a great leader as well. I think he leads with his play.
Again, I think all that got put to bed this past offseason when everyone and their mother re-signed here, right? We could talk about how last year ended, talk about the contract, the rumors that were floating out through some reporters that he was a changed guy. After he got the money, he distanced himself. He didn't really talk to a lot of people in the locker room. When A.J. Brown signs an extension here, and Devontae Smith signs an extension here, and every single offensive lineman signs an extension, and Saquon Barkley signs a 3-year deal here after talking with him, do you think those relationships are fractured? I get it, but like A.J. Brown, Devontae, they could have gotten more money on an open market from another team, that could compete, maybe not, whatever. Do you think they're resigning for the next 4 to 5 years of their lives to play with a guy that they don't believe can get them the ball, like some people wanted to talk about last year, that they didn't get along with off the field in the locker room? Do you think they want to be here for the next half a decade with that guy if he's not the leader that we hope he is?
Right.
So that's when everything kind of got put to rest for me, man. So
I think the biggest thing is just him getting healthy this year. He went into the season with that knee injury that just lingered all season last year. You saw it started to bother him towards the end of the season, especially just being healthy, man. That's going to help a lot.
It's just such a different factor for this offense, man.
The running ability, he needs it, right? Like he is a dual threat quarterback. That's part of his game. It's part of what makes him special. So he needs to be healthy. Coordinators, I mean, obviously, this is what we've talked about all offseason ever since we signed Kellen Moore as the offensive coordinator, Vic Fangio as the defensive coordinator. But more specifically, just offensively speaking, Kellen Moore, the difference that he's going to be able to make for Jalen Hurts, make it easier for him. Like, just give him simple. Like, it's just, I don't know, man. You go back to last season, there's just so many question marks all around that I can't like pinpoint it all on Jalen Hurts at the end of the day, man. There was a lot of bad stuff going around the team. You just have to hope that they can clear that stuff out.
And he wasn't good. Like, let's get that out in the open. Like, he was not
the
good.
Turnovers.
Things went wrong.
He wasn't.
The turnovers, the fumbles, the 2 interceptions on that, what was that, Monday night against Seattle? Like, all inexcusable, right?
Yeah. Cardinal game.
I just don't think that's who he is. That's my point. And that's where the faith comes out in me for what this offense can do again this year. And I just can't wait. I'm going to stamp it right now. This is a top 5 offense in the National Football League.
You want to know where they have you want to know where ESPN has Saquon ranked?
In running backs?
Yeah.
Am I going to laugh?
No, I think you'll be fine with it, honestly. I don't think it's going to be a shock
Is it going to
factor
be
here.
4?
Yeah. Actually, good guess. Yeah. It is 4.
That's fine.
Nick
I mean,
Chubb,
it's Christian McCaffrey. Okay.
and then who's your other one?
Christian McCaffrey, Nick Chubb. It's going to be something stupid. It's going to be a younger. Is it Breece Hall?
Yeah, it's Breece Hall. Yeah, he's number 2.
I'm sorry.
Actually.
I'm sorry. Again,
He's
I find
ahead
that
of Nick.
absolutely fucking stupid. I'm sorry. I don't.
Who would you have picked though?
Well, Christian McCaffrey is the 1-1. I'm not going to argue with you. I think pound for pound. I mean, actually, you know how I feel about Nick Chubb. Pound for pound, I think he's the best running back, pure running back in the National Football League. When you look at that injury, from last year and his past injury history, if we're going off of projections, I don't know that Nick Chubb's going to be number 2 on my list when it comes to that. And no, I'm not putting Breece Hall against over Saquon Barkley at this point right now. I'm not doing it.
Yeah. So maybe Breece Hall would be number 4, right? In my rank. I don't know. I'd have to look at the numbers, but Jonathan Taylor at number 5, Bijan Robinson at number 6. I think Bijan's going to have a great year. Josh Jacobs, number 7, Jahmyr Gibbs at number 8, Derrick Henry, number 9, and Travis Etienne, number 10.
Yeah. I'm sorry, man. I can't get inside the minds of some of these people. Like, I'm not saying that Breece Hall can't be a top 5 running back. Breece Hall is going into his 3rd year in the NFL, so a lot of unknown. Tore his ACL or his Achilles his rookie year. Had 80 rushes. And didn't rush for 1,000 last year. Now we know Zach Wilson was starting games, so I forget the other dude that was starting games. Like, we know the offensive issues. We know no Rodgers. They could key. I get it. But I just don't know. I'm sorry. I don't know where him becoming the 3rd or 2nd best running back. I don't get it, man.
Yeah. This is what they said about Saquon Barkley in their review. An AFC veteran scout said he's going to be a beast. The weapons around him on the outside, dual threat QB, shotgun runs, his versatility, it's a perfect fit. They say durability is a part of the Barkley conversation. He's missed at least 3 games in 4 of the 60s.
Oh my God!
You have ahead of him, though. Like,
you had Nick Chubb and
injured last year.
Oh my! This is what I'm talking about, man. Like, these people get paid to write these articles and talk about these things, and yet there's no clear-cut logic to it. You can't sit here and talk about Saquon Barkley's injuries and then have Nick Chubb the number 2 running back in the National Football League.
Yeah, it says here from an NFL offensive coach, probably not as fast as he used to be. He has the ability to make people miss in space, which is sometimes bad since you think you can bounce it and outrun people. But when he does get downhill running in between the tackles, he's so naturally strong that he's hard to tackle. He runs through arm tackles, just has to decide to do it.
Okay.
So,
well, that's fine. Listen, I'm not saying
DeAndre Swift, I guess.
Barkley. Yeah.
DeAndre Swift.
I have a problem with Saquon Barkley being called a top 4 running back in the league. But again, when you try to give me your explanation and your reasoning behind it, and then I look at who you have above him, something's not adding up. And then that's where we get lost in translation.
Also, DeAndre Swift, not really mentioned here. I mean, even after the top 10, it's Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco, James Cook, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon. Interesting, man. I thought DeAndre Swift had a pretty good season last year. He clips 1,000 yards with the Eagles.
Yeah, with hardly getting the goddamn ball, it felt like.
Hardly getting the ball. So, interesting, man.
Yeah.
Interesting nonetheless.
We'll see.
I don't have too much of a bone to pick with Saquon at 4. It's just when you start to really go through the players in front of him, around him, then that's when it kind of gets a little confusing. The last one I'll throw to you is the Sirianni, because wide receiver rankings, by the way, have not come out yet. I would love to see where AJ and Smitty are ranked. But Nick Sirianni comes in at number 15th ranked head coach in the CBS head coach rankings. So middle of the pack head
Again, I
coach,
think
middle of the pack
that's fine.
quarterback.
That's fine.
Or
Listen,
middle of
and
the
you and
pack.
I have our same thing. We have our concerns. If it was me at the end of the year, I would have been a little more rash. And I thought that Nick Sirianni lost his locker room and he
Yeah,
probably wouldn't have been back for my money. But the
yeah,
fact that he has to agree or sign off on who these coordinators are and what his new job is going to be, you give him leadway. But again, recency bias and no real clear cut logic plays a role here. How is
yeah.
Nick Sirianni a year removed from almost winning a Super Bowl, going back to the playoffs, been to the playoffs all 3 years as a head coach in this league, but some of these other guys are ahead of him?
See, this is the shit that will piss me off, man.
Yeah.
Like, Amon-Ra St. Brown is a great wide
Oh, yeah.
receiver, but like, get out of here.
No.
They will do it too. I'm not doubting it, Marshawn. Like, I can see it already, but like, just get out of here. But to your point about Nick Sirianni, man, guys like Zach Taylor ahead of him, 37, 44, and 1 over 6 seasons as the Bengals head coach. D'Amico Ryans, I think, fair, right? He's young. He looked good with the Texans in the first year. Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings, interesting. Mike McDaniel is the one that really sticks out to me. Not because I don't think Mike McDaniel is a better coach than Nick Sirianni. He might be. It's just the tone of the article of Mike McDaniel versus Nick Sirianni, where Mike McDaniel is looked at kind of optimistically. You know, he's still got time to turn this thing around and get wins in the postseason, whereas Nick Sirianni's time is like running out. He's got to get there now. He's got to win the Super Bowl now with the Birds. So it's just the verbiage around it alone. But I'm not the highest on Nick Sirianni, to be fair.
No.
Like you said, at the end of the season,
I'm not
I
sitting here banging the
him
drum for him to be
door.
ranked a top 5 head coach in the National Football League. I really, if we're being honest, like I don't care about the head coaching rankings that much at all, because if we saw anything from last year, yeah, Nick obviously played a role, and I talked about that at great lengths. But we just see how important coordinators are in this league as well. Other coaching matters in this league as well, besides just the head coach. So, you know, man, that part, it doesn't really bother me that much. But again, to your point, like there has to be logic to your reasoning. Yeah. And when you like, in what world do the Miami Dolphins have like this longer window than the Philadelphia Eagles? Like, I'm not trying to like poke fun at the situation because it's very serious, kind of. But like, whose quarterback has 1,000 concussion issues and might have his career cut short at some point?
Yeah.
It ain't ours. It ain't our younger quarterback.
Has like 1,000 kids.
Right. Not to mention
I know it's not relevant, but it's funny.
And Tyreek Hill's pushing what, like 30?
Yeah,
like
he's getting older.
That cheetah speed ain't going to keep up all that long. His hamstrings hurt every year. Yeah. Your defense, I don't care how bad our defense was last year. I'm taking our defense against the Dolphins defense. So I don't that part, that really makes no sense to me. And again, that's where you lose me. That's where I lose why you have him ranked 15th and even, you know, trusting it at all. But whatever, man. Yeah, they did do this.
I just wanted to see AJ Brown's numbers versus Amon-Ra's last year. So 106 receptions, 1,456 yards, 7 touchdowns. Amon-Ra, let's see. I know he had a great season last year. 119 receptions, 1,515 yards, 10 touchdowns. So it's interesting.
Did you see the thing that came out that he completely like tore his I forget what muscle it was, like completely tore it off like after like week 6 and played through it or some shit.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm not hating on Amon-Ra. It's interesting though. A lot more targets. You don't split those targets with Smitty, right? A player the caliber of Smitty. But yeah, Amon-Ra is a great wide receiver. I'm not taking him over AJ Brown. Like, honestly, like just watch them play. That's all I'll say. Like, just watch them play. I get it. They're both great guys. But I'm taking AJ Brown. He's a physical specimen, man. Catches everything.
No, so. I agree, man. But all right, let's get into our final segment of today's show. Already an hour in somehow, and I feel like we didn't even accomplish all that much. Twitter.
We're gonna get the subscription on Twitter, and we're gonna get that thing back rolling in here because, Twitter was killing my vibe this morning. That's not a way to start the Mondays. No.
Well, let's pick that vibe up a little bit, man, because I got some positivity to continue to spew in the way of the 76ers. All right. So over, the past couple of days, over the weekend, Kyle Lowry re-signs with the Sixers. I get it. What's Kyle Lowry, like 47 at this point, Scotty? Joking. But here's how I feel about this signing. You and I talked about liking to have him back.
Yeah.
The Sixers have done a lot of fun, sexy, appealing type of stuff this offseason. You go out, you get the big guy, and you get the big star in Paul George, right? You get the surprise in Caleb Martin. You get the Jared McCain pick. You get the guy in Kelly Oubre who everyone wanted back the most from last year on a cheap deal. They've done all of the attractive stuff so far. This Kyle Lowry signing, it's just the right signing. I don't know how I want to phrase this. It's just a good, solid signing. We look at the starting five and we've fallen in love with it already without even seeing them play together. If it is that starting five, I'm saying Paul George, Caleb Martin, Kelly, Embiid, Maxey. I can put it up against anybody, right? But you get to the bench, you have shooters in Eric Gordon, you have Jared McCain, you got the big man in Andre Drummond, but you're lacking. We're hopeful that McCain can become something this year immediately, but you're lacking a guy that can run an NBA offense, that can play a little bit of defense, even though he's undersized a little bit. You go out, you bring Kyle Lowry out. Again, this is not – last year we brought Kyle Lowry in off of waivers just after the deadline, and he was the bench piece at first. Well, then injuries continue and struggles continue, and next thing you know, he's starting at age 37 in an NBA playoff series, playing 35-plus minutes a night. That's not the role Kyle Lowry needs or Nick Nurse has for Kyle Lowry on this team. Kyle Lowry can be that backup point guard that can slot in and play off the ball if needed, can take pressure off of Maxey. He's going to shoot 38, 39, 40% from three. He's going to take a couple charges. He's going to get a couple steals. He can help out on the glass, even though he's undersized. Like I said, he's what this team needs. He knows Nick Nurse. He's got championship pedigree. He's from the city, like we talked about from the day he signed here. We heard how highly Caleb Martin talked about him when he had his, introductory kind of day in Camden. You bring that guy back, leadership, championship pedigree, big time shots and big time moments when you need it in a small fraction when it comes to Kyle Lowry this year.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it was the right move to bring him back. Obviously, there was other teams interested as well. I know he's 38 going on 39, I believe. But still, he has enough in the tank to take a minimum role with the Sixers. And by minimum, I just mean in the rotation, right, off the bench. And I think it's going to be key on Nick Nurse to kind of balance out the season. It's what head coaches have to do, right? Like figure it out. But what I mean by that is the Jared McCain situation, because you don't want to get to the point where Kyle Lowry is playing, 30 plus minutes, and Jared McCain, maybe Kyle Lowry goes down, maybe Eric Gordon goes down, maybe Jared McCain is then slotted and has to play in the playoffs. And what I'm trying to say is you want to get Jared McCain still ready to go if you're going to need him in the postseason. So I think he gets the perfect veteran in Kyle Lowry to learn behind. Obviously Kyle Lowry's a smaller guard, Jared McCain a smaller guard. He can probably help him out a lot on the defensive end of things. Jared McCain already has those little intangibles similar to Kyle Lowry, diving on the floor, going after loose balls, helping with rebounding. So they have a lot of similarities. So hopefully Kyle Lowry can help Jared McCain in that sense, hone it in.
Right.
Once again, keeping the veteran presence there for Maxey even, right? He's still young. He's still developing. He's still learning. He is going to become a leader on this team this year if he's not already after last season. But you still just need that voice in the locker room, man, that veteran presence, that presence that has seen an NBA championship be won. So, I love the signing. I love bringing Kyle Lowry back.
Especially, man, when you bring in all these new toys, all these new pieces, this offseason, this training camp, this September is going to be really important to getting guys acclimated and playing together. Even though we hope and we think that the fit is seamless, it takes time. And we've had all these rotating pieces in and out, deadline after deadline. Kyle Lowry's a guy who played the last half of the year here, played in big playoff moments with this core, knows Nick Nurse's system. So that's a guy you don't need any introduction when it comes to him getting right with this team, with this offense. He knows what to do.
I'm curious which Nova guy were we looking for there?
He's probably just saying any. He's probably just saying any of the four over there, man. I just, it's funny, Scotty. I went back and got a cut the other day, and I think I told you this heading into the postseason when we're playing the Knicks. The one barber at the shop is a Knicks fan, and then the one day it was a Sixers fan in the chair next to me, another Knicks fan across from us, and then the barber that's a Knicks fan. So before the playoffs, we were everyone was going back and forth. Yeah. It was funny. It was fun. It was light. And then I went back in yesterday, and the same exact crew was in there. The two other dudes getting a cut. The barber was working, and my barber knows that we were going at it before, so he stirs the pot and starts talking about it. He's a Lakers fan, so he doesn't really have any room to get in this conversation. But it just got me thinking, and I stayed humble. I said, "Hey, man, you got it. Like, I don't know. Nothing's proven yet. Nothing's been stamped yet. So you got it. But here's where I get with the Knicks when with Martian bringing up the Nova players. I don't care about Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart. I hope Gint's not watching. Mikal Bridges is a seamless pickup for them. Jalen Brunson is a star. Yes. I'm just not fearful of Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo replicating what they did this past postseason run.
Yeah.
For a full 82-game season, another postseason run, that's just capturing all that effort, all that hustle, all that energy in a bottle. They're good they're nice role players. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. That's going to be the interesting thing with that team, man. You had such good chemistry last year. Maybe the team wasn't good enough, obviously wasn't good enough to win it last year. But what happens when Julius Randle comes back? You have OG Anunoby back. Yeah. You have Mikal Bridges. Dante and Josh Hart are probably going to go to the bench. The starting center, it's probably going to be Mitchell Robinson. Yeah,
I don't know if Precious Achiuwa went back there or not, and he would be the backup. I don't know.
Not sure. But he's going to have to stay healthy.
This wasn't to take a shot at the Knicks, but when he brought up the Nova guys, because everyone gets so hype around here about the New York has the four Nova guys. I only care about two of them. The other two, I get it. They were part of the reason they killed us.
They're good role players, like you said.
We'll see if they can replicate all that hustle and energy for another year. If Tibbs continues to play Josh Hart fucking 60 minutes a night, even though it's not mathematically possible, then good luck. Okay, that's all I'm going to continue to say.
It is interesting.
Anyway, man, I know we brought it up with Brock. He said he's good on it. I'm on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. Gary Trent Jr. rumors have been continuing to pick up over the weekend. They've quieted down over the last 2 days. But there were two different reports. People that they're not Woj, they're not Shams, they're not anybody reputable. But they do have the one dude had 48.9K. He's a Raptors guy or whatever it is. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's being reported that the Sixers are the favorites, and they've been in communication to land Gary Trent Jr. He is willing to take a 1-year kind of prove it deal to get his value back up there because it's not what he and his agent thought it was going to be on the open market. The other teams, correct me if I'm wrong here, Scotty, they include the Nuggets and it's the Sixers, the Nuggets, and one more team that I saw in the mix. It's the Knicks?
Yeah, the Knicks.
Of course.
This Bucket Access account, they have 1.1K followers.
Yeah, it's not.
They broke that he already signed with this. Obviously, that hasn't happened yet. So
nothing like going to shoot me in the foot after seeing that. Yeah, now it makes me feel worse about Gary Trent Jr. coming here. Anyway, I'm absolutely all the way in Gary Trent Jr. coming here because for two reasons. He would start for me. Is that controversial for you? I don't know. I know everyone's locked into the starting lineup. When they signed Caleb Martin's the starting power forward. Kelly Oubre Jr. would go right to the bench for me. Gary Trent Jr. is 6'5". He is a 2 guard. He shoots 40% from 3. He can handle the rock, get his own bucket. You put that next to Tyrese Maxey, Caleb Martin, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. That's where I would go. Kelly, you get that scoring. You get that guy off the bench and Kelly Oubre. Gary Trent Jr. would be a fine scorer off the bench, fine shooter off the bench as well. But I think it just fits better as a 2-guard in this lineup. Not Will miss again. Like when you get to Boston, is he a guy that can start for you? But I think the biggest thing for me, it's not do the Sixers want Gary Trent Jr. That should be an astounding yes for 95% of the fan base out there. It's how is Gary Trent Jr. going to fix or, help his value with a stacked lineup like the Sixers. But when I look at the other teams out there, Scotty, it makes me feel better because I go, well, how's he going to do that in New York between Mikal and Jalen and Julius and OG?
Yeah.
How's he go? I mean, Denver, maybe you have Murray,
Denver's
Jokic, we know what he can do. Denver's probably his best fit, but it's very Kelly Oubre-esque, is it not? Like Kelly Oubre came here and, could have gotten a lot more money on the market if he didn't want to come back to Philly this offseason. I think Gary Trent Jr., you have to look at it is, he might not average 17.5 points and 41% on this team. He's not going to get all those looks. He's whatever. But if he's part of a winning team this year, which is the roster we're trying to put together, and he's a very, very helpful, productive piece and averages 14, 15 points this year in a starting role, that's the kind of production and bag he can get next year is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have to be the numbers. It doesn't have to be the points per game, the everything like that. If you go to a team and you become a key cog in a winning machine, you're going to get paid somewhere next year.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the big thing here. I've seen a couple different people not very high on the move, Brock included, right? We'll be live tomorrow. Should be all together in person with the live show tomorrow with Brock. But nonetheless, he obviously told us last week he wasn't with it. I saw Trill Bro Dude, the slop guy. He's not with the Gary Trent Jr. signing. But I do think it's just one of those things. He did have one of his lowest point per game totals last year in the last, 5 years? Last 5 years. 13.7 points per game. But it's all about system. It's all about culture. Right. It's all about what are you playing for? What are you competing for? Now, it makes you wonder a little bit, right? He's on a contract year. You're not going to try to amp up the stats a little bit, but
to be fair, he played a career low in minutes since that season as well.
Yeah, that's fair as well.
So he played 4 less minutes this season than in 22-23. He played 7 less minutes than in 21-22, 3.5 less minutes in 2021. So he was only just at 28 minutes per game. So if that helps
one
anything.
Of those things, man, like you said, situations matter. He comes in, he's playing around Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid. And yes, I would start him. If I'm bringing him in, I'm going to start him, honestly. Just because I think that's the best situation for the team. You move Oubre to the bench, he can get buckets on his own and be that 6-man kind of scoring punch off the bench. Whereas Gary Trent Jr., I like him more of in that off-ball setting, being ready to shoot, being the capable 3-point shooter. And then when you look at it from that standpoint, Kelly Oubre is probably the worst 3-point shooter in the starting lineup right now. So you take him off the floor and you put in another guy that shoots over, 38, 39% from 3. I think that's going to look a lot better. And once again, you have that scoring impact off the bench where that's really where Kelly Oubre excelled last year. When he was coming off the bench, there wasn't a lot of pressure on him. You get to go in there. A lot of the time you're going against second unit guys. It's just a better matchup situation, in my opinion. So,
and to further Brock's point, like he is a little, I guess, I don't want to, he's against, I guess, the Gary Trent Jr. move. But if it was to get Kelly to the bench, he said, Kelly was not great in the postseason. He was not good in the play-in game. Yeah. And that was in a starting role, right? So I agree with him 100% there that Kelly dropped off from his regular season production in the postseason. So if you get him out of a starting role for an entire season, injuries aside, he gets to be off the bench in the postseason. Maybe you get a different, more productive Kelly Oubre Jr. in the postseason as well. So,
Yeah.
I'm all for. I mean, I told you before the offseason started that Gary Trent Jr. was a guy I wanted in a 76ers uniform. That was before I even thought it was physically possible to get him on a minimum. So, I'm all effing for it.
I think that's what makes it a no-brainer as well. Like a minimum, like you're not risking anything. It's him that has to take the risk.
And listen, man, I'm sorry. I know people keep harping on the power forward, the rebounding. I get it. If they could trade for DFS still, if they could do that at the deadline, now becomes tradable in like January or December, I think. You have those first-round picks still available, those assets. If you can make that move in the middle of the season, I'm still all for it. But I'm going to be honest with you guys. Like, if we're talking, like, let's just say Gary Trent Jr. or freaking Marcus Morris on the last minimum we have open. Are you guys like, please tell me no one in their right mind would say, I'll take Marcus Morris on the minimum because we need a power forward. Please tell me that's not even a thought.
The guy that you hope is just not even playing, right? Like Marcus Morris, I don't want to see him play. Like, I'm okay if he, like, not over Gary Trent Jr. I'm okay if that ends up being a signing we make. But, like, not for the sense of, like, putting him in the rotation. Like, he's just a backup bench guy. Somebody goes down, somebody needs a night off, then sure, veteran presence. But, yeah, it is an interesting thought there. A couple other guys that are still out there, man. Harrison Grimm pointed this guy out to me, and I don't know how you'll feel about it because he probably gets a mixed reception. But Gordon Hayward on a minimum contract.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm indifferent.
Pulling up his numbers.
Yeah.
6'7", 225. He's got the length, right? He's another forward wing that you could bring in. He's a better playmaker than the other wings that we have outside of maybe like Paul George. Averaged about 10 points per game last year. Split time between Charlotte. Averaged about 14 to 15 for Charlotte last year. When he went to OKC, dropped down to 5. He just wasn't getting playing time. He says he's cooked. Couldn't crack minutes in OKC. I feel you. 36% from 3, 47% from the field. I don't know. I just
not terrible. That's not terrible. I mean, he shoots better from 3 than Kelly does.
Yeah, I don't know. TR says it's awful. I don't think he's awful, man. I think like an Evan Fournier is awful. Like, that's awful to me. Gordon Hayward, veteran presence, playmaking ability, space the floor. Once again, a guy that you're not going to see a ton of.
And by the way, we are talking about on a minimum filling out one of the final roster spots and maybe cracks the rotation. That's
if we get Gary Trent Jr., that's lucky. Like, that's like a saving grace for the vet minimum, right? Like, that's fine. Like, I'm taking Gary Trent Jr., taking Luke Kennard over a Gordon Hayward. I'm taking a couple guys over him. I'm just saying, like,
I don't want to cut your idea off with other guards, but you said the thing lucky with Gary Trent Jr., and it just made me go back to what we were talking about when like PG came here and everything. Like, they would become they would be a destination now. Like, I'm not saying because the name Gary Trent Jr., but I'm saying, like, look who they're rumored to be fighting for him with.
Yeah,
the Mecca. New York, Madison Square Garden, just beat us in the postseason. Traded for Mikal Bridges. They're on the up. The Denver Nuggets, a year and a half, 2 years removed from winning an NBA title. MVP Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray. If he chooses the 76ers over those other teams with what they've done, like, they're becoming a destination place for key free agents, especially for a guy like him to take a minimum here. Like, that would be crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. We gotta wait and see, I guess. I'm hoping that he is willing to do that. But yeah, I guess I'm trying to set my expectations lower them a little bit, right? Because it has been such a great offseason. But like, you can go down this list of available free agents. I mean, Markelle Fultz. I mean, I would take a flyer on Markelle Fultz. Tyus Jones, obviously, but I don't think he's gonna sign a minimum. We'll see. Luke Kennard once again. But then when you get into like the Marcus Morrises, the Robert Covingtons, I don't know. I might take Gordon Hayward over those type of guys, honestly, just from a fit and play style standpoint. But I feel you. It's not like the ideal, but none of these guys are going to be like world-altering signings with the vet minimum at this point, outside of a Gary Trent Jr. or somebody of that caliber.
Yeah,
So we'll wait and
I agree.
see. But yeah, I mean,
It's just funny,
I
man.
feel you.
If you
We
type
disagree
in
sometimes.
Gary Trent Jr. on Google,
Yeah,
Gary Trent Jr. Sixers is the second one. And all of them, like Athlon Sports, 76ers emerges top shooter for Gary Trent Jr. Sporting News, 76ers signed dynamic score, social media hints yes. Another one,
maybe
Nick
it's coming.
Hand. I mean, I'm literally like I'm trying not to get my hopes up, like you said. I'm trying to temper my expectations because this again, it sounds crazy because the name it's not Paul George. It's not as big as Caleb Martin, but like this would just be the icing on the cake. Like to get him on that
So
deal after everything you've already done. This team at that point is then complete, brother.
So I'm reading this report from Bleacher Report from July 12th. It says NBA rumors Gary Trent Jr. would not accept a minimum contract to play with Nikola Jokic in the Denver Nuggets. It's the Nuggets, so take it with a grain of salt. Maybe that's not the same situation for the Sixers, but I don't know, man. It's interesting to see the value on some of these guys. The new CBA obviously has to be impacting this to an extent, but it said the Nuggets didn't have a ton of interest in him anyways. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe they just
Yeah.
weren't going to give him, a solidified rotation spot. But
So here's Athlon
you got to
Sports, and
wait and
again,
see.
I'm not ultra familiar with Athlon Sports. They are somewhat reputable, but so their article from the night of July 12th is the 76ers have made arguably the biggest splash of any team during NBA free agency this summer, and it appears that Gary Trent Jr. could be their next target. While other teams such as the Knicks, Lakers, and Nuggets have recently been tossed in the sweepstakes to land Trent, Philly might make the most sense for both sides. The 25-year-old previously had been connected to 76ers head coach Nick Nurse during his time with the Raptors, as well as veteran point guard Kyle Lowry and assistant coach Rico Hines. There's mutual interest to try and work out a deal in the coming days. It also gives Trent the opportunity to join an immediate playoff contender, like I was talking about, to upgrade his bag next year. Yeah, I mean, he would bring sharp shooting presence to a 76ers backcourt rotation. Yeah, so, I mean, this was what's today, the 15th? Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was, going on 2.5, 3 days ago at this point. Hopefully, man, we get something worked out. Not gonna harp on it until I actually see it come through and happen for the Sixers, but I'm ready, man. If they do that, I'll be insufferable. Yeah.
Yeah, because I do agree. Like I'm high on our starting lineup, but it's not perfect, right? Like it's not perfect, like fit wise. Like I'm not a huge
Right.
fan of Kelly Oubre starting as like our 2 guard. Like
Correct. I agree.
I don't know how it'll like iron out, between those 3 forwards or 3 wings in the starting
No, I
lineup.
agree with you. I think it's a
It's
little
not really.
unorthodox when you have the
Yeah,
2 through 4 that we do. Not against it.
it'd be
Obviously not
different
against
if
it,
Kelly
but
Oubre was like a prolific 3-point shooter, like
right.
right, like it would be different in that sense.
Um
That's the
they
rumors, but these
did,
rumors
but
wouldn't happen, I feel, if that was even close to a thing.
right.
And Nick Nurse,
Right.
I mean, who knows? He could be a dick, when you get on his bad side. I don't know like that, but he seems like a pretty cool and chill guy, like
Yeah.
from a coaching
Right.
standpoint.
Oh,
So
and they're both grown men,
yeah,
trying to win
figure it
another
out.
NBA title. I think that
Because
they either
wasn't there rumors like
both excited.
correct me if I'm wrong out there, but wasn't there rumors about like OG and Pascal Siakam? And I know
Yeah.
we didn't get them; they went to other teams, but there was interest from the
Right.
Sixers in those
But
guys.
listen,
And
man,
Daryl
and
Morey's
this
not an
is
idiot.
right, and this is probably a horrible comparison considering how this coordinator turned out to be. But like we all remember the Darius Slay, Matt Patricia stuff, right? Like that was real. That was like
Yeah,
public
yeah,
beef. Like that,
yeah,
there were things said publicly from both of them about each other. And if those two can put their egos aside and he's calling plays for it. Say it's not like they were on opposite sides of the ball, whatever.
yeah.
Like, no, like they're in meetings together, whatever. If they can put that aside, I think Nick Nurse and Gary Trent Jr. can put whatever even was going on with them aside. We don't even know what happened because it wasn't as public as the other one.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Do you think Nick Nurse would start him if he did get signed? Like,
I don't
do you
know,
think
man.
he
I
would?
think either way, I'm
Kelly
okay.
making
Like,
more money, right?
right. I mean, either way, I'm fine with it. I think fit wise, yeah, it works. 6'5"
Better
two
that way.
guard that can shoot
Yeah.
40% from three. That's what I would do. If not, you have a 6'5" shooting guard that can handle the rock a little bit, create a little bit, shoot 40% coming off your bench.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm good. At that point, he turns into a 6-man type of role for me. Like
Yeah.
Drummond might be the 6-man. Like, nah, I don't even think Drummond
Naturally.
would be because Nick likes to play Joel late into the first quarter anyway.
Yeah, so
So
he's not going to be the first off the
no,
bench
he would
unless they
probably be like the
change that
second or third. It's
rotation.
the third probably. So yeah, I think at that point, whoever it is, whoever's the odd man out, Kelly or Gary Trent Jr. for me becomes the 6-man.
What are the odds that they start Kyle Lowry?
No, then see now we'll have a problem. Okay, I will say that. I'm being serious. Now hold on. Let me backtrack here. They could
He
start
starts
Kyle
and comes
Lowry.
out. He's the first guy off the floor, right?
Yeah, and his minutes at the end of the game aren't anything crazy. He just
Yeah,
starts. Then I'm okay. But if we're talking like he's getting starting
like
caliber
last
minutes
season.
night in and night out,
Yeah,
28 to 30 minutes a night, I'm fucking out. That is not what this
yeah.
team needs. It's not what he needs. Not a shot. Yeah.
Who has a higher
we
chance
would
of
go,
starting,
bro. We
Kyle
would
Lowry
go
or
from
Eric Gordon?
we would go from the best offseason of my lifetime to I'm gonna strangle somebody if he starts.
Eric Gordon or Kyle Lowry?
Starting?
Yeah,
I would take Eric Gordon starting.
yeah. I think once again the fit, right? The shooting
Yeah.
guard, a little bit bigger size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I
either
can
way,
see any of those,
neither
I
of
guess.
them are going to start. I think either they would roll out with this starting lineup that they have now, or if they are so lucky enough to bring in Gary Trent Jr., that they figure out from there
Usually
as
goes
well.
by money divvied out. So Oubre probably will start. Caleb Martin's definitely going to start. Because I just have a feeling that was part of the agreement for Caleb Martin to come here, starting.
Probably.
Start
And I think
starting
Caleb
spot.
Martin has to start for me, man. I know, again, we talked about it with Brock.
Perfect glue guy.
And I didn't watch, obviously, as much Heat basketball as I did Sixers and see enough of him. Obviously, in the playoffs, we know what he can turn into. From my eyes, I feel like Kelly does more off the dribble than he can. He's a little bit more athletic, more spring, can get to the bucket a little bit more easily. I think Caleb Martin's, 3-and-D type of presence is what this starting lineup needs around Joel and around Maxey. So, and again, he's not the best 3-and-D guy, right? In the regular season, he shoots like 36% from three, but he shines in the brightest of moments. That's what we're waiting for. That's what we need anyway. But who knows? He could be even better with them. What's that?
He's never played with Joel Embiid.
Exactly. He plays with Bam freaking Adebayo. But
as good as those guys are down in Miami, they're not.
Who closes on this team? Well, Joel and Maxey close. Paul George. That's 3. Probably Caleb Martin, I would say, especially for defensive purposes.
Yeah, defense.
Will be out there. That's 4. And then that kind of gets down to any given night for me.
Whoever's in rhythm, right? Whoever's
right.
feeling it. Oubre, Lowry, Gordon. I mean, I think you could go a couple different options. And whoever you bring in, if you are able to bring in a Gary Trent Jr., then
maybe him as well.
I probably want that shooting in at the end of the game. It depends where he's at defensively, obviously, because Oubre can defend when he wants to. So
I literally almost found a way to take another jab at Tobias Harris, but I won't do it. I'm sorry. I know we got to get out of here. It's an hour and a half morning show. We got to get busy here.
Somehow got an hour and a half out of this.
Yeah. Did you guys, I have no idea if this is factual or not, so I hate to be this person, but there was some buzz going around Sixers Twitter that someone like copied and pasted Tobias Harris's like thank you and like farewell Instagram post to Sixers Nation. And it was like 95% AI generated and you can make it online. Like, I have no idea if there's any proof to that, any real, if that's real or not. But if it is,
see
my God, brother. I mean, could you be any more phony even on your way out the door?
It would not surprise me, man.
He's saying it's BS.
Okay. It wouldn't surprise me, though. I would not be surprised if that's how he wanted to operate on the way out. So,
that's good. Maybe the Constitution was AI.
For
Just
a
kidding.
win.
Just kidding.
Chat
Anywho,
GPT's playoff.
that's going to do it. Twitter, X, thank you so
Really?
much for really fucking up this morning show. But we're going to go get that solved and figure it out. Like Scotty said, for those of you that are watching right now, TR, Martian, whoever else is in the chat, or whoever else is going to see this in replay version, we are expected to get together at Scotty's crib with Scott, get the camera out, get it rolling, and be live tomorrow night talking all things Philly sports. So if you've obviously heard Brock talk a lot of NBA and Sixers in the past. Might hear my man talk some Phillies, some other Philly sports, some Eagles, some Phillies, whatever else we want to get into. So make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel for the 9,000th time. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Time tomorrow, 6-ish, maybe somewhere right around there, maybe 5:30, something like that. See how we get the setup rolling and everything like that. But between 5:30 and 6 for sure. And we'll see you guys there. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. Have a great rest of your day.